Hi, thank you for tuning in. Today is October 2nd. We're in a new month. Happy new month, you guys. I hope you guys survived it. I want to share this information with you. Ooh, I'm going to say call me the gossip lady, but I am not. I had went on to, well, you can get this document on Pacer, right? And it's under 317 Civil CV 04866. And it's in the Northern District of California, and I'm in the Eastern District. So Northern District, which means it's like Oakland, San Francisco, Alameda counties, Santa Clara, those areas in the Bay Area. And what I find very important is that if you're involved in family court, child support, child protective services, the whole deal with this court of equity in these court systems, the administrative courts, it's very important. It's, they're racketeering, and we all know this. But how do you get beyond that? So this guy here, Joe Sweeney, when I read this, I was like a kid in the damn candy store. I was reading it. I started giggling. I had to reread it again because I just couldn't believe what I was reading. It's like when you get into a good book and you're like, oh, hold up. Let me reread this again, So he filed a complaint, a RICO complaint, which means racketeering or racketeer, influence, and corrupt organization, and he demanded jury trial. Now you see here the clerk signed it, so they accepted this in the official file because he's well known, and the thing is that he is not giving up. He's a warrior by nature. He was sick and tired. I mean, he probably didn't know the extent of what most of us has been through at these family courts, and we don't know how to get out of it. But when he was embroiled in himself, he said, well, hold up. Basically, I'm just talking for him. I don't know. But I'm just imagining he's probably thinking like, is this what people are talking about? The kids being taken away? Because sometimes if you're not in it yourself, you wouldn't have a clue. You wouldn't understand it. You'd think, oh, yeah, their kids are taken away because of X, Y, Z, or there was a bad mother, or a bad father, a bad divorce, so on and so forth. So this guy, he got it right away. I mean, I'm pretty sure he studied. He's a very intelligent guy. I mean, he got some good credentials, some education. You hear me? But like I said, I encourage you guys get this and read it. And my opinion that people should start filing RICO, against the courts. And this is one of the examples of a pro se litigant, which is here in California, Northern California, has been filed against his ex-wife, the ex-wife's father and mother. They own several properties here in California, which is basically low-income tax credit properties. They get over on low-income tenants. They're basically slumlords. I read some of their comments, the old tenant comments on Yelp, in regards to they failed to repair their units, roaches, you name it, mold, everything. And basically they were sued by their tenants, illegal evictions. So he was airing out that dirty laundry, and they don't want that, I can imagine, because they want to be productive in the community. And basically when you're going through, it's not even, I won't call it contentious, divorce, whatever. It's just that they have money and they manipulate the system. This guy here, Joe Sweeney, they wanted to exhaust him financially, steal his child from him, and live happy ever after. To my understanding, this woman here, his ex-wife, did the same thing to her first husband, which is an attorney here in Sacramento. So this guy here, Joe Sweeney, he is not playing. You can Google him or search online some of the stuff he's been active in. He was one of the advocates or reformers who called for the audit, and you can find that at the state legislators' archives. And that was back, I believe it was last year, 2016. And so let me go on before I keep on rambling, because I encourage you to get this for yourself. You may find you can just search online regards to RICO complaints, Northern District, California, or if not, you can go to Pacer, and here's the case number here. So let's go on. So his complaint alleges, right? Let me make this a bit bigger for you. Okay, so this is what he says. $60 billion flows through our nation's family courts annually, and racketeering is an epidemic, which is true, right? The crime is real, and it is organized, and it is every day devastating the lives of children and parents. Unethical attorneys, so-called experts, and complicit and or permissive judges have turned the destruction of children and families and siphoning of their assets and income into an industry with family law pleadings representing little more than paper for their printing press, which is true, and they get their financial incentives from the federal government. So they're encouraging this. Law enforcement, the media, and the judicial system itself turn a blind eye to the, a big whatever it is, whatever. Don't, hey, I'm not a professional linguist, so you can look it up yourself. Anyways, crime, attributing everything to a he said, she said situation or to the ranting of a disgruntled litigant. This is merely cover-up and abdication of duty. He goes on to say, number 2, this case should have taken a month, which is most divorces. Take at least 6 months. You sign it, you're on your way, done. But they do it to exhaust you financially, break you down, destroy your family, and it makes money for the courts and then the opposing party's pocket as well. So he goes on to say again, this case should have taken a month and a few $1,000s to resolve, but instead over a period of 4 years, it's created over 20 volumes, 2 civil actions, 7 appeals, an audit of the California Commission on Judicial Performance, a federal constitutional challenge of the Domestic Violence Prevention Act, writs for habeas corpus, a court reform nonprofit, and a digital and print family court publication, which is ex parte, to name a few things. He goes on to say number 3. Why? Because wealthy defendants, Carrie Evilizer and her parents, John Evilizer and Mary Evilizer, which I'm pretty sure stands for something else because this is a European name, or just the name evil. I mean, I can imagine they dirty. And I'm gonna show you why they dirty. I'm gonna read some more of what he exposed in this pleading, and this complaint. Then he goes on to say, decided to assemble a gang of mobsters and engage in a series of despicable criminal schemes to try to leave the plaintiff, Joe Sweeney, homeless, penniless, and childless. That sounds like me. Like I've been through. Oh my God. This is what every person who's dealing with family courts, this is what he's saying it. He's experienced it. He understands. He knows. And he goes on to say that, and the courts permit it to happen, which is true. We know that. They sanction you. They throw you in jail. The attorney's fees this and attorney's fees that. That they have so much control over your life, destroy your family, to remove your children. It's a bunch of mess. But anyway, he goes on to say, but when Sweeney refused to bow under the weight of their crimes, hallelujah, each successive scheme upped the ante for the previous. The Evilizer's gang tactics include some of the unsophisticated and egregious forgeries of documents, fraud, tax evasion, and violation of law and ethics. This lawsuit showcased the abuses that occur every day in American family courts. He goes on to say, number 4, Congress passed the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act in 1970 to fight organized crime rings profiting from the extortion of good Americans and the corrupting of the nation's local, state, and federal institutions. RICO has dismantled some of the most sinister and untouchable enterprises, but there is nothing more sinister than causing deliberate, oh my God, I read this is like, who's talking to me, because of my daughters, they're 5 and 6, but again, this is what he says, but there is nothing more than sinister than causing deliberate harm to children and families for money while using our taxpayer-funded courts as a place of business. Congress may not have foreseen that RICO might one day be needed to clean up the country's family courts, but it did foresee that organized crime would always seek to exist, and it created a broad, powerful lack to crack it wherever it reared its ugly head. Congress did intend for RICO to confer under ordinary citizens the power to become their own private attorney generals to protect their families. I love this part right here. He goes on, number 5. After being dragged into the street fight, which is family court, by the Evilizers and their gang, Sweeney learned how to defend himself against a continuously cycling wheelhouse of 18 attorneys from 11 different law firms and a dozen quote-unquote expert witnesses in a divorce, civil, and several appellate actions, to a deficit of well over $1 million in attorney's fees and costs over 4 years. Now he's bringing the gang before this court, and he goes on to say, Ooh, he's letting it out. This complaint established that the defendants are members of an associated in fact enterprises, each aware of the essential nature and scope of the enterprise, who intended to participate in the enterprise and whose conduct constitutes a pattern of racketeering activity over a period extending from nearly 10 years ago until present. Their acts include not only the forgery and filing of dozens of false instruments in dissolution and civil actions and with county recorders' offices, but also as a collateral consequence of maintaining their criminal scheme against Sweeney, the unlawful eviction of hundreds, you hear me? He said the unlawful evictions of hundreds of tenants through the filing of forged legal documents in numerous superior courts of California in relation to the evilizers' commercial apartment properties. Now, they got property here in Sacramento. They got property in the Bay Area. They got property, I believe, in Oakland, and I believe somewhere out of state as well. So if you're in a subsidized or tax credit community or apartment, make sure you know who the property manager are, because the property managers under, I think it's JLE, I've got to scroll up to the caption, you know, it's probably one of them. So and he goes on to say, Sweeney asks this court to send a message to the crime rings that have staked new territory in our family courts that, like their mafia predecessors of the past, they will also be extinguished. And he goes on to say about the case, the parties involved. He laid it down. So look, this is what he says. Let's go back. I'm going to go to 31. Let's see. Okay. So I'm skipping around. So I want you to download this. This is, oh my God, this is good. So he goes on to say, the evilizers spend lavishly on material items, have numerous exotic cars, expensive jewelry, adorn themselves in designer items, live in a multi-million-dollar homes, and have vacation homes. For example, on information and belief, John Evilizer was one of 499 people in the world to take a receipt of a $1.5 million Ferrari in 2015, and the first person in the United States to take a delivery of a $2.5 million Ferrari in 2016. The evilizers and their businesses are regularly engaged in litigation. Numerous lawsuits have been filed against them by tenants who allege injuries due to uninhabitability, caused by toxic mold, sounds familiar, cockroach, and flea infestation, raw sewage, improper ventilation and drainage, building code violations, and failure to make repairs and other violations of law. Several of the prior employees filed lawsuits alleging failure to pay wages. On information and belief, sites have previously levied fines against some of the properties for violation of law. Then it goes on to say, Carey was a family business's unlawful detainer, attorney, and a property manager for some of the properties. Carey earned a very high income working for the family business and held interest in at least 14 properties. And so when he goes on to say, Sweeney and Carey married in 2010. In 2012, Sweeney discovered information leading him to believe he was the victim of paternity fraud. The marriage deteriorated, and the dissolution action began in April 2013. You see, this girl here, Carey Evilizer, her ex-husband, as I believe, is from Sacramento, and he's an attorney as well. But yeah. So then he goes on to say, talk about his marriage and everything else with the paternity, how they met, how she was fooling around some sort, and it was a bunch of stuff was going on. But I encourage you to get this this complaint filed in the Northern District of California, and this is the case number 317 CV 04866. And this is very important, so you can tailor this if you're going to file a RICO against these, these thugs, the mafia, basically, in regards to these family courts. And I think, this is the way, we should be doing this, because, our families are broken. We are financially exhausted. And, this guy here, he is setting precedents for all of us to take action, take control of, and get our liberties back and our families back intact. So until next time, you guys, be strong, be encouraged, and stay informed.